What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the weekend roundup here on Touchline Talk. We're going to jump right in. We got plenty to get to this week, starting in the Premier League, where all three of these races title, top four, relegation have all of a sudden become, or continue to be, in the case of the title race in the top four, absolutely captivating. More twists and turns this weekend. Not necessarily at the top. Both Liverpool and Manchester City win. City in more convincing fashion. The first half wasn't particularly inspiring. They get a set piece goal against Leeds, and then the floodgates open in the second half. They get a comfortable 4-0 win. Not too much on to say on City's end, and this throws Leeds squarely into the relegation battle here, which we'll get to in a little bit. Before that, City knew coming in they had once again lost the top spot in the table because Liverpool got a 1-0 win against Newcastle. Was not pretty. Newcastle wasn't particularly dangerous, and Liverpool just wasted their chances. It wasn't a terrible performance. Naby Keita gets one on a nice passage of play. They just couldn't get that second to put this game away, which led to a more tense ending than it needed to be, but ultimately they also get the win. So City knew coming into that Leeds game, Liverpool had done their job, City do their job. Nothing changes at the top of the table except for City again closing that gap on the goal differential. Not going to stop mentioning that. Maybe it doesn't matter at the end of the day. It probably won't, but it is something to keep an eye on. Then, bottom of the table. Burnley get goals in the 83rd and 86th minute to overturn a 1-0 deficit, stun Watford. And so all of a sudden, Burnley are just flying and they're rocketing. I mean, not rocketing, but slowly climbing up the table here. And putting Everton in an incredibly difficult position. So Everton have the Sunday game. They've already seen what Burnley did. They're facing Chelsea. And Frank Lampard beats his team. It was what you expect from Everton, kind of what they tried to do against Liverpool. Except for this time they did get the goal. Cesar Azpilicueta mistake. Richarlison and Demarai Gray pounce on it. Richarlison puts the ball in the back of the net after some nice work for both of them. And they hang on. Chelsea had some chances, but it was another well-organized defensive performance, and they found a way to actually get the 3 points this time, not just kind of look good and put up a good fight against a team that's in a much better spot than they are. And so now all of a sudden, Everton aren't dead and buried. They very much have life. Burnley just may never lose again at this point. And so Leeds have been swept back into this. I still am not convinced Everton's going to do enough, assuming Burnley continues to put points on the board. I'm not convinced Everton's going to do enough to turn this around, but that was a massive win to give them some confidence and just help them believe they can actually pull this off. So we'll see how this thing goes. I'm still predicting Everton to go down, but these teams could just stop picking up points any given day. Who knows at this point? But all of a sudden, this has changed into you might need 34 plus, points to avoid relegation. The ante has been upped because all of these teams have delivered in some way, shape, or form over the last month or so. And then top four race, nothing changes here. Spurs start scoring goals again, beat Leicester comfortably. Arsenal get a win at West Ham to cap off an incredible 3-game run. And it's just getting closer and closer to setting the stage for one of the more memorable North London derbies in recent memory. It certainly doesn't look like this is going to be decided before that, which is going to be quite the game when we get to that point. In Italy, we did have what could very easily be sort of our decisive turn of events here. I mentioned on the live show briefly, awful goalkeeping mistake turns a draw into a loss for Inter in a game they were up 1-0 in midweek, which gives AC Milan control of this thing. Another goalkeeping mistake, albeit nowhere near as egregious, leads to a Rafael Leao goal to win it late over the weekend for AC Milan. So they do their job to continue to hold the keys to the Scudetto, if you will. Inter beat Udinese to keep the pressure on. So this is very much still up for grabs, but this is AC Milan's. So the first weekend they have control. They do their job. Wasn't pretty, but they made it happen. And we're to the point where if this thing does not go AC Milan's way, they have nobody to look at but themselves. That's a second gift. I mean, that's why you got to just keep picking up the points and keep applying the pressure, because sometimes bizarre things happen. And what do you know? Two mistakes, one by Inter, one by your opponent, and all of a sudden this is absolutely AC Milan's to lose. Also, congratulations, Real Madrid, La Liga champions officially. Carlo Ancelotti throws the B team out there to save legs for the second leg of the Champions League semifinal against Manchester City. They beat Espanyol 4-0 anyway, making Ancelotti the first manager ever to win all 5 of the major leagues in Europe. Nobody has ever done this before. This was the last one missing from his resume. And it's interesting because it's not like he did this in a short span. And it's not like he is sort of renowned at AC Milan, absolutely. But aside from that, I don't think, I was looking at it, unless I did math wrong, he hasn't been at a club since leaving AC Milan in 2009 for a full 2 calendar years. It was just kind of jumping from one spot to another, but that's also how you do this, because he was jumping to Bayern Munich and PSG, and that's how you get opportunities to win all of these different leagues. The one he was missing was La Liga. He comes back to Real Madrid, gets it done the first time out, and there was so much sort of uncertainty or questioning of this decision when Real Madrid made it, because of the other guys who were potentially available, and because you look at his past two jobs, and he did a good job at Everton, particularly where they are now, makes him look even better. But he wasn't managing teams with title aspirations, really. At least teams you would consider to be in the top 2 of their league. And it's not like it went particularly well. And so what you had was a manager trying to sort of not rebuild his legacy, but sort of rewrite the ending to it to a certain degree and change the way people were viewing him and sort of put some distance between those couple of rougher stops and him now, and a club looking to sort of recapture that just aura and being truly a top 3 team in the world. Real Madrid simply weren't the last couple years. I chalked last year's Champions League run down to more of this is Real Madrid, it's a Champions League. You absolutely see stuff like this happening. It doesn't mean they're a top 4 team in the world. They weren't playing like it last year. He comes in, and now granted, part of this is because Bayern have fallen off a little bit. Italy is just, there's nobody there that's really inspiring you on that level at the moment. So you're kind of running out of options, and PSG is PSG. But you look at what Real Madrid did in the league, the way they're scoring goals, the way they're producing week in and week out, and comfortably won that league. When I would argue still Atletico Madrid had the better roster and, the world's most expensive manager. Credit to Ancelotti. I did not exactly see this going the way it did, but to me, this year's run of the Champions League is no fluke. They are absolutely, maybe you put them fourth behind PSG, but they are absolutely back to being right there in that conversation in that second tier behind Manchester City and Liverpool. So in the end, it ended up being a perfect fit. Ancelotti was missing that one piece of hardware, and of course knew Real Madrid from his previous time there. Real Madrid were looking for somebody that could sort of do this quick fix thing because they're not in the business of a multi-year rebuild. And so now all of a sudden, you've got you're sort of back where you want to be with the platform built to theoretically add Kylian Mbappe and or Erling Haaland, and now we're having a different discussion about can they break into that Liverpool Man City tier depending on how the summer goes. Ancelotti had a lot to do with that, so you got to give him credit. Congratulations to Real Madrid. Before we jump to domestic things, Barcelona, Lyon, Champions League final on the women's side. Barcelona lose their second leg to Wolfsburg 2-0, but they thrashed them in the first leg, so still win 5-3 on aggregate. Lyon also get a 5-3 win on aggregate. They take the second leg 2-1, goals from Ada Hederberg and Rennie Reynard. And this is going to be part of my 5 things from the week, but as dominant as Barcelona have been in kind of this rapid rise to becoming the best team in the world, the one thing they haven't done is taken out Lyon in the Champions League. Right? This is kind of the final hurdle, if you will, because Chelsea also were not super experienced and kind of have that pedigree. Sort of Lyon are on the women's side what Real Madrid are on the men's side to a certain extent. And so you get a rather inexperienced team when it comes to the Champions League when you win your first one last year. Now you've got the tried and true veterans coming to try and stop you from getting a second in a row. Because if Barcelona get this one and do it in fairly convincing fashion, I mean, good luck trying to catch them. They are flying right now. Yes, they lost the second leg, but they did their work in the first. So this is going to be a terrific game. Really excited to see this sort of new power versus old traditional dominance matchup we're going to get. NWSL regular season opening weekend. Want to highlight a couple things quickly here. Angel City, 2 early goals to beat North Carolina in their regular season debut. Congratulations to them. Awesome environment. There's something special there. It's really cool to see. You had all of your celebrity owners in attendance and team delivered on the field, so good for them. And then Washington Spirit beat OL Reign 2-1 in their first of 2 meetings this week. They also had the Challenge Cup semi-final coming midweek. Ashley Sanchez scores terrific shot from outside the box. Definitely check out that goal if you haven't seen it. To open the scoring, Rose Lavelle pokes in a ball from 2 feet. It fell fortuitously to her. She knocks it in to make it 1-1. And then who else but Ashley Hatch to score the winner. The thing I want to mention here, though, is not as much about Hatch as it is the person who delivered that cross. That would be Trinity Rodman. For all of the hype Trinity Rodman is getting and the numbers she is putting up when it comes to scoring goals, which she deserves all of the credit in the world for that. The thing that stands out to me about her, and she showed it on this particular play, her crossing is ridiculously good. The ability to put a ball in that tight of a space and give your elite striker a chance to go get it. And we saw the same thing in the Challenge Cup final. It was different because that was a pinging the ball across the field kind of thing. This was very much a technical cross to give Ashley Hatch a chance to head it home. So they were different in that regard, which just shows her versatility of crossing. But the pinpoint accuracy is, and especially this one too, it looked like the ball was bouncing a little bit. And to just have the ability to control where it's going the way she did was incredible. She is exceptionally talented, and it's not just scoring goals. Her ability to set up Hatch and her crossing with Hatch's finishing is a lethal combination. Then Major League Soccer. It was the weekend of the red cards. There were so many. Inter Miami and Chicago, the Chicago Fire, take center stage in the red card flurry, both end their losses with 9 men on the field after getting 2 players sent off. And your headline game of the weekend, Nashville opens up Geodis Park with a draw. Absolutely should have had a goal in the first half. Hit the woodwork a couple times. Andre Blake did that thing Andre Blake does where he looks like the best player on the field and you're never going to get a goal by him. He was incredible. If you needed a reminder of who the best goalkeeper in this league is when Matt Turner leaves, yeah, it's Andre Blake, and it's not close. He had one of those days. And then, second half, Nashville kind of fall off a little bit. Mikel Ura gets his first goal in a Union jersey with a very well organized counterattack that, he is terrific at getting into dangerous spots. That's the thing that stuck out to me about him so far. He just hasn't finished. He finishes this one, all of a sudden the Union are winning. Nashville gets an equalizer on a penalty kick that comes from a handball. They almost got a second one. It was certainly justifiable to make an argument. They should have had 2 penalties. They didn't get the second one, but they do convert the penalty. Andre Blake almost saved that one too, but it was perfectly taken. If that was anything, maybe not perfect, but definitely a solid 8 out of 10. If that was a little bit less accurate, Blake saving that, and all of a sudden he might just never be allowed back in Nashville ever again after what he's done to them over the past year or so. But they do get the goal, get the draw. That stadium looks terrific. The fans were incredible. Really cool atmosphere there. That's all we've got for our weekend roundup. Thanks so much for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the Substack, and we will see you for the live show on Wednesday.